Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The bridge of the Nova Odyssey was quiet, except for the soft hum of the ship. Systems, lights flickering over the consoles as the crew focused on their work. Captain Sarah Hayes stood at the center, her eyes fixed on the forward display where the swirling colors of the wormhole engulfed them. It was a beautiful sight, mesmerizing in its chaotic dance of blues, purples, and deep reds, but Hayes couldn't let herself be distracted. This mission was too important.
"We reapproaching the event horizon," said Ensign James Ryder, his voice steady, despite the growing tension in the air, course plotted, trajectory steady.
"Good work, Ryder," Hayes said, offering him a nod of approval. At 23, Ryder was one of the youngest crew members aboard the Nova Odyssey, yet he handled the ship by navigation with precision that rivaled the best in the fleet. Commander Maya Vance stood to Hayes' right, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. She glanced at the captain. "Wormhole traversal is always unpredictable. Let's say, hope Dr. Reyes was right about this one." Dr. Ethan Rees, standing near the science station, didn't look up from his data feed. "I wouldn't stake my reputation on an untested theory, Commander. The readings from this wormhole suggest it leads to a previously uncharted region of space, one that could revolutionize our understanding of the universe." Vance's lips tightened into a thin line. "Let's just make sure we come back in one piece." Hayes felt the weight of both their gazes, the tension between the optimistic scientists and the pragmatic commander forming a silent battleground. She had grown used to managing their differing perspectives throughout this mission. Reyes, the visionary, saw only the potential of discovery, while Vance, the seasoned tactical officer, was focused on survival. Both were essential to the crew's success, yet their views rarely aligned. Steady as she goes, Hayes ordered, her voice firm. The Nova Odyssey accelerated smoothly, slipping deeper into the swirling vortex of the wormhole. The ship's hull groaned under the strain, but the state-of-the-art vessel had been designed for this kind of journey. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently, the deck beneath Hayes' feet trembled, and alarms blared throughout the ship. Energy surged. Chief Engineer Leah Chen's voice crackled over the intercom from the engineering bay. It sagged off the charts. "Captain, divert all power to the stabilizers," Hayes commanded, gripping the edge of her console as the ship lurched again. Vance rushed to the tactical station, tapping into the emergency system. "Shields are holding, but we're losing power in critical system." Reyes finally looked up, his face illuminated by the harsh red glow of warning lights. "This isn't normal. The wormhole energy field." Another violent jolt cut him off. The Nova Odyssey spun wildly, the crew thrown against their restraint. Hayes barely managed to hold onto the console, her vision blurring from the sudden force. "Captain, we were being pulled deeper." Ryder's panicked voice broke through the chaos. "We were losing control." Hayes fought to keep her voice steady. "Reyes, can we stabilize the field?" Reyes shook his head, his expression grim. "The wormhole's energy signature is fluctuating unpredictably. It's like nothing I've ever seen." The ship continued its descent, spinning faster, the colors of the wormhole blending into a dizzying swirl. Then, just as suddenly as it began, everything stopped. The alarms went silent. The lights dimmed to a low glow. The violent shaking ceased. Hayes straightened, her heart pounding in her chest. "Report." Ryder's hands trembled as he scanned his instruments. We've exited the wormhole, Captain." Hayes glanced at the forward display. The swirling colors of the wormhole were gone, replaced by an inky blackness that stretched endlessly in every direction. No stars, no planets, no familiar markers of space, just an empty void. "What the hell?" Vance muttered, stepping forward to stare at the display. "Where are we?" Rees quickly began running calculations on his console, his brow furrowed in concentration. This isn't right? There should be something, anything. But I am not detecting any gravitational fields, no cosmic background radiation. It's like we've entered a completely isolated pocket of space." Hayes felt a cold dread settle in the pit of her stomach. "Can we plot a course back to the wormhole?" Ryder frantically tapped at his console, trying to reestablish a connection to their previous trajectory. His voice faltered. I can find it. It's gone. There is no trace of the wormhole we came through." Silence fell over the bridge as the crew processed the gravity of their situation. "We retrapped," Vance said flatly, her voice heavy with resignation. Hayes refused to accept that we were not trapped. "We just need to assess our situation, figure out where we are, and find a way back. Chan's voice came through the intercom again, her tone strained. Captain, they're taking significant damage from the energy surges. The engines are barely functioning, and we're running on backup power. We don't have the resources for a long-term drift. Hayes closed her eyes briefly, trying to gather her thought. They were in an unknown part of space with no clear way back, and their ship was damaged, but she couldn't let her crew see her fear. "We'll figure this out," she said, opening her eyes. "We faced worse odds before." Riaz, ever the optimist, leaned forward. "There's still a chance we can find a way back. This void may be a temporary anomaly or some kind of energy field that we haven't fully understood yet." Vance nodded. "Temporary anomaly. We're in the middle of nowhere with no stars, no planets, and no sign of the wormhole. We might be stranded here forever." "Enough," Hayes said sharply. "We need to focus. Rise. Continue analyzing this space." "I want to know exactly what we were dealing with." Vance helped Ryder get the navigation systems online and try to reestablish contact with command. Chen prioritized repairs to the engines and power system. The crew dispersed to their tasks, but the tension in the air was palpable. Each of them knew the gravity of their situation, even if no one was willing to say it out loud. Hours passed, and the crew worked tirelessly to repair the ship and gather data on their surroundings. Yet, no matter how many readings they took or how many scans they ran, the result was always the same: nothing. They were floating in a vast empty void with no sign of escape. Then, as the ship drifted in the darkness, something changed. Captain Ryder called out, his voice tinged with surprise. "I am picking up something. It sounds faint, but there's definitely a signal out there." Hayes hurried to his station. "What kind of signal?" Ryder squinted at his console. "It's an energy reading, but it's unlike anything I've seen before. It's on a natural ... It's coming toward us." Vance stiffened, immediately on alert. Could it be another ship? Reed shook his head. "No, it doesn't match any known propulsion signatures. This is something else." Hayes' pulse quickened. They had been alone for hours, possibly days. To encounter anything was both a relief and a danger. "How far away is it?" "Closing in fast." Ryder replied. "At this rate, it'll reach us in a few minutes." The crew gathered on the bridge, eyes fixed on the forward display as the energy signature approached. At first, it appeared as a distant, faint glow, barely visible against the black void. But as it drew closer, the light intensified, shifting in color from a soft white to a pulsating blue. The alien energy took form, a massive, shimmering entity that hovered just beyond the ship. It had no discernible shape, no solid mass, only a fluid, glowing presence that seemed to ripple and shift like liquid light. "Is it alive?" Chen asked, her voice hushed. Race leaned forward, his eyes wide with awe. I think it is. It's an energy-based life form, unlike anything we've ever encountered." The entity moved closer, surrounding the ship in its glowing tendrils of light. Hayes felt a strange sensation wash over her, an odd tingling awareness, as if the entity was probing her thoughts. She shook her head, trying to clear the sensation. And then a voice, not a sound, but a thought, filled her mind. Hayes' breath caught in her throat. The voice in her mind was unlike anything she had ever experienced. It was not a sound, but more of a sensation, as though her thoughts were being touched and molded. She looked at the others and could tell from their wide eyes that they too were hearing it. "You are lost." Riaz was the first to respond. His voice trembled with excitement as he stepped closer to the forward display, staring into the swirling mass of energy. "Yes, we are. We need your help. We don't know where we are or how to get back." But the entity pulsed in response, its glow intensifying briefly before returning to its rhythmic pattern. Hayes felt the strange probing sensation again, as if it were not just listening but feeling their intentions, searching for something within them. "You seek escape," the voice echoed in her mind. "This place is not your world. You do not belong." Hayes exchanged a glance with Vance, whose hand hovered near her holstered weapon, as though she could somehow defend against this vast intangible presence. Ray's, on the other hand, was transfixed, completely absorbed in the encounter. "Can you help us?" Hayes asked, her voice steady but tinged with urgency. "We control the energy. We can manipulate it as you manipulate matter. But the power to leave is beyond simple creation. It requires understanding. You must learn." "What do you mean, learn?" Vance interjected, her tone laced with suspicion. "We don't have time for some kind of cosmic lesson. We need to get out of here."
The entity pulsed again, and the sensation of its awareness deepened. Hayes could feel it now, more than just a presence. It was a collective intelligence, vast and ancient, so far beyond their comprehension that it made her head spin. It was as if they were ants, suddenly aware of the giant shadow looming over them. Time is not your enemy here. You will not age, you will not die in this void. But if you wish to return, you must become something more. Ray's face lit up with understanding. They were offering to teach us how to control this energy. This could be the key to everything, the key to unlocking a new era of human potential. Van stepped forward, her jaw tight, or it's a trap. We've even been in unknown territory before. Realize what makes you think this is any different. Riaz waved her off. And do you see, this is indeed like any alien race we've encountered. They exist on a completely different plane of understanding if we can learn from them. That's enough. Hayes' voice cut through their argument like a blade. She turned to the entity, her mind racing. She knew they couldn't afford to waste time arguing, but Vance wasn't wrong to be cautious. Trike, what would we need to do? Open your minds, the entity replied. Let us show you the way. The energy around you is not what you think it is. It can be shaped, guided, if you learn to see it as we do. Hayes took a deep breath. She didn't like the sound of this allowing an unknown alien entity into their minds, but they had few options. Their ship was barely functional, their resources were limited, and this void seemed endless. Whatever this being was, it held power beyond anything they could fathom. We'll do it, she said quietly, making the decision for her crew. Dichoa. Vance's jaw clenched, but she said nothing. Rise, on the other hand, looked like a child who had just been told all his wildest dreams were about to come true. The entity pulsed once more, and suddenly the crew felt a surge of warmth flood their mind. It was as if the air around them had thickened, pulsing with invisible currents that they had never noticed before. Colors and lights danced at the edges of their vision, and they could feel the energy not just around them, but within them. Hayes staggered, grabbing the edge of her console for support. Her mind was buzzing with new sensations, her thoughts disjointed as the alien presence guided them through the first steps of understanding. This energy was not just something that flowed, it was alive, responding to thought, emotion, and willpower. Riaz let out a soft gasp. Incredible. It's like the energy wants to be shaped. It's like it's waiting for us to direct it. Yes, the entity echoed, but the path is not without danger. The energy will test you. It will resist. You must learn to guide it, or it will consume you. Hayes felt the weight of those words settle over her. This wasn't just a gift. It was a responsibility. If they failed to control this power, it could destroy them. She could feel it now, the underlying chaos within the energy. It was raw, untamed, a force of nature that could just as easily tear them apart if they weren't careful. For days, or maybe it was weeks, it was impossible to tell in the void. The crew underwent a series of trials, guided by the alien entity. They learned to focus their thoughts, to channel their willpower into the energy around them. It was exhausting mentally and physically, and Hayes could see the strain it put on her crew. Riaz, unsurprisingly, was the most adept at these trials. He seemed to thrive on the challenge, pushing himself further than the others. He spoke of the energy like it was the greatest discovery of his life, his enthusiasm growing by the day. Vance, on the other hand, was growing more suspicious. She never fully trusted the alien entity, and as they delved deeper into the trials, she became convinced that there was more to their situation than the entity was letting on. One night, as they gathered in the mess hall to discuss their progress, Vance voiced her concern. "We were being used," she said bluntly, her eyes flicking between the other. "The more we learn, the more I am convinced that this thing doesn't want us to leave. It's just teaching us just enough to keep us hooked, but there's something it's not telling us." Riaz scoffed. "That's sense. Absurd. We were learning how to control forces humanity has never dreamed of. Why would it want to keep us here?" "Because we were useful to it." Vince shot back. "Vera, think about it. Race. Why would an ancient, all-powerful entity care about helping a few lost humans? It's not using us for something. I can feel it." Hayes listened to them, her own doubts gnawing at the edges of her mind. She couldn't deny that the more they learned, the deeper they were pulled into the alien Zenith world. The energy was intoxicating, almost addictive in its allure. But there was a danger in that. She could feel it, even if Rees couldn't. "We need to be careful. We don't know the full extent of what's happening here. We can let ourselves be blinded by the possibility." Rise opened his mouth to argue, but before he could speak, the ship's lights flickered. A low hum filled the air, and the entity Seth's voice returned, stronger than before. You are close, but there is one final trial. One of you must become the conduit. Only through complete understanding can the energy be shaped into the gateway you see. His blood ran cold. A conduit, that didn't he sound good? Harry, what do you mean, conduit? The energy must flow through one of you only, then can the gateway to your world be open? Ries stood abruptly, his eyes alight with excitement. There, I'll do it. No, Hayes said sharply, rising to her feet. We don't know what this will do. It could kill you. Ries shook his head, his expression determined. Hex is what I've been working for my entire life. I understand the energy better than anyone. I can do this. Van stepped forward, her hand resting on her sidearm tower. The guard saw a trap. They were trying to turn us into something we were not. Rates. Don't you see that? Hayes looked between them, her heart pounding. She had to make a decision, and fast. If Rise was right, they could open a way home. But if Vance was right, they could all be walking into their doom. We don't have time for this, Hayes muttered under her breath. She turned to Rise, her face set with grim resolve. We'll back you up, but the moment something goes wrong, we pull you out, understand? Reyes nodded, a smile breaking across his face. I won't let you down, Captain. The alien entity pulsed, the energy around them growing stronger, brighter. Hayes felt it pressing against her mind, urging her forward, and, for a brief moment, she wondered if they were making the biggest mistake of their life. The conduit will begin. The energy surged, and Rise stepped forward, ready to face the unknown.